Pharmacy Friday. What do you guys say out there? Welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. I am the founder and CEO of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm going to change my glasses. You guys remember Mr. Rogers? I do. I grew up with Mr. Rogers. He was a staple in my house. Out of Pittsburgh. Go Pittsburgh. Anyway, when he came into the show, he always changed his coat, like his little sweaters, and he changed his shoes. Well, guess what? My Mr. Rogers version is changing my glasses. Because I love sunglasses, because I think as I've gotten older, I feel like my eyes have become more sensitive to light. And I love wearing sunglasses everywhere. But it might look a little strange on This Week in Pharmacy with sunglasses, because I want to see you. I want to talk with you. I want to engage with you. If you're piping in live from any number of sources, we want to hear from you. We want to engage with you as well. And, talk pharmacy, talk the business of pharmacy. So I have a multitude of things that I'd like to start off talking with. First of all, I want to say that it is an honor to have clients that are doing amazing things in healthcare. Cardinal Health, a shout out to Cardinal Health. Today's episode is brought to you by Cardinal Health. They have a podcast called Counter Talk, and they are a huge supporter of community pharmacy specifically. And it's just wonderful to work with customers and clients that get things. And we're going to be talking about point of care testing today, but I have some things to go through with you first. And we're going to get to that, but I also want to just let you know that Pharmacy Podcast Network is around and about, not only in social media. And I want to encourage you, if you have questions, if you have things that are bothering you about the pharmacy profession, suggestions making things better, even if it's clinical treatment, please let us know. But I think it's important to understand what our audience is explaining, everything that we can, and getting feedback from you. So that I very much appreciate, and am excited that we get to do this. This podcast has meant a lot to me. This is kind of our first podcast about everything. It's kind of like our catch-all show per se. And it's been a thrill to see this grow, the popularity of it, and seeing how it's bringing other subjects and experts together, and that in and of itself is exciting for us to be talking with people that know that innovation and change is necessary in order to move us forward. And when we get back from our break, we're going to be talking with Dr. Kristen Talent, as well as a special guest from ixlayer, and we'll be right back. You know what? Technical difficulties with internet is horrible, and we just had one. So understand, nothing will ever be perfect. So when you're piping in people live and us live, it tries to wreck something. But guess what? When you're treating a patient and they get upset, or one of their care members get upset and they're trying to wreck your treatment, pharmacists, you guys go through the exact same thing. You people go through the exact same thing. So we're on it. Here, we're back. Welcome back to This Week in Pharmacy. Hey, I want to talk to you about, very proud that the Pharmacy Podcast Network is a media partner for the APHA, the American Pharmacists Association. We are rising together in the face of adversity, advancing pharmacists as primary care providers, and working with primary care providers to lead treatment and the voice of pharmacy there in Arizona on March 24th to 27th. Please plan to attend as well as come visit us. We will be embedded in the APHA's booth. And with that is going to usher in other superstars of our pharmacy profession. We're going to have the founder of Pizza Is Not Working. She is one of the 50 most influential pharmacists in our nation, Dr. Bled Tanoe, who founded Pizza Is Not Working, which is an effort and an organization coming together to change our work staffing, that what pharmacists are going through in big national chains. And also her right hand, Dr. Candace Alusala, who is also the host of the Pizza Is Not Working podcast, which is part of our network, which we're so proud of. And don't miss a photo opportunity with Dr. Shane Jerominsky, Shane, just Dr. Shane. All right. The accidental pharmacist. If you don't follow the accidental pharmacist, I get laughs out of him every day. We need laughter in our profession with the stress that we're under. He is a community pharmacist. He is an advocate for change. He's very powerful on social media. We're going to be excited to be working with him as well. Another person, another organization I want to give a shout out to is Happier at Home, how they are helping community pharmacies leverage home care services and different things that can be pulled through that, including which is today's theme, including point of care testing, and how the expansion of point of care testing is really going to set some new levels of quality and collection of data, and the way that pharmacists can dig deeper into treatments and treatment changes and modalities, and sharing information with primary care nurses and specialists. But first, let's get into the news. We have some news to go over today. So first, I want to talk about, I really want to talk about what this kind of gets me going, and that is a recent post, a recent article came out about, oh my goodness, about rural pharmacy and the attack on rural pharmacy, and the inability to work as a pharmacist in a community and feel like you're not going to get your job and your livelihood sucked up right from underneath you, because your patients, the people in your communities, are being now forced to go to big chain drugstores based on PBM contracts. Let's listen in to the news clip.
Narcan is a drug used to reverse opioid overdoses and could soon be sold over the counter. A committee of advisors to the Food and Drug Administration this week voted unanimously in favor of making Narcan, a nasal spray version of the generic drug naloxone, available without a prescription. The FDA is weighing the move after fast-tracking an application from Emergent Biosolutions, the maker of Narcan, to let it sell the drug over the counter. The medication is a key tool in preventing opioid-related overdose deaths, which have climbed in recent years, due in large part to the spread of fentanyl. More than 80,000 people died of overdoses involving opioids in 2021, a historic high, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
All right, so following up we're hitting 2 strikes. We were talking about the rural area and the rural land of community pharmacies being attacked, but we jumped to our second story, which was about Narcan and how Narcan is going to be offered over the counter. We're probably going to get complete FDA and FTC, as well as oversight for Medicaid and Medicare oversight and what's being paid for. But I want pharmacists to realize in each of your states, you need to go to your state association and make sure that the pharmacists have their arms and hands around Narcan and the follow-up treatment that has to take place. If a patient's been Narcan, if someone's been Narcan, guess what? It's time to get them into additional care. And we're actually going to do an episode on this. We have a new episode, a new pharmacy topic coming out called Opioid RX. And we're already collecting interviews, probably about 9 different topics, 9 different episodes. But be on the lookout for how opioid use disorder treatment is going to weigh heavily on our pharmacists throughout the nation. Next, let's listen into a clip about mitigating the effects of ongoing drug shortages.
Pharmacy Times reports that drug shortages have plagued the healthcare system over recent decades and continue to impact patient care, safety, healthcare costs, and the medical workforce. Shortages affect not only hospitals and health systems and their ability to treat patients, but also the manufacturers, distributors, and wholesalers of the supply chain, which provide the medications and materials necessary for patient care. Hospitals, health systems, and the supply chain are all negatively impacted by drug shortages and are each affected by the decisions of the others.
So part of the article was talking about in 2023, they say they're expecting additional shortages and warnings depending on specific ingredients that aren't available for the manufacturing of these medications. So who better to kind of give us feedback into what's really happening in with shortages than pharmacists. So please communicate with your state associations and also your wholesalers. Today I'm excited because we're going to be talking about the expansion of point of care testing. And when we come back, we're going to have POC Talk podcast host with us, Dr. Kristen Talent. So we'll be right back. Welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. Dr. Kristen Talent, host of POC Talk podcast and a maven, an entrepreneur out there doing things specifically around point of care testing. I am thrilled to have you here, Kristen. And if you feel like making any mistakes, today is the day to do it because we are tripping all over ourselves here at the Pharmacy Podcast Network and This Week in Pharmacy. So go right ahead, drop something, have a cat a dog bark, something that you can kind of join us in our mistakes.
I can't do it right on spot like that, but I'm sure I will show up for you, Todd. I won't leave you alone.
Oh my gosh. We invest in this camera system that gives us the ability. I'm afraid to press a button that's going to freeze up, but it's supposed to be able to pan everywhere and do everything, and it's not working. So we're gonna chuck it, and we're gonna probably be investing in something else because I can't stand when technology doesn't work.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, isn't it?
It is. So you and I met at a conference. I think it was the Diversify RX 2022 conference. And then we met back up at 2023, which just happened in Orlando, Florida. It was kind of like a pickup conference from a enormous marketing group out there that collapsed, and community pharmacists and vendors were wondering what was going to happen because it was a major event. And then Dr. Lisa Fast puts this together. The Profit Summit live in Orlando. I was just on fire to be there. It was so good to see you there. But just share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your mission to expand point of care testing.
Oh, thank you, Todd. It's great to be here. Yeah, that event was awesome. So was the one in August of 22, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming one here at the end of the summer this year. But I'm Dr. Kristen Talent. I believe that point of care testing is the future of pharmacy and that we need to grab hold of it and own it and just really hit the ground running. I'm kind of equating it to the immunizations of maybe a decade or so ago. So if you're looking to do point of care testing, Pock Talk is a great place to get some information, and some other resources. But I'm a huge advocate for point of care testing.
You're also a member of the RPH Ally group that has been put together by a multitude of passionate pharmacists, really trying to transform our profession by coming together as B2B, professional to professional, healthcare providers to healthcare providers in the realm of pharmacy professionalism. And you've started developing some content with Sean and Kevin and their team. Can you share about a little bit about your representation of point of care testing within the RPH Ally initiative too?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I love what they're doing at RPH Ally, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. But it's really just like you already said, bringing these healthcare professionals into the same space so that we can really start to serve our colleagues in these different areas of clinical services and pharmacy in the pharmacy industry in general. And so, what I do there is again just really help other pharmacists implement and run successful point of care testing programs, whatever that might look like, whether that's a mobile lab or inside an independent pharmacy or some other type of situation. Maybe you're partnering up with a functional medicine clinic. The options are truly endless. And so the RPH Ally initiative is to really help pharmacists get into the space and make it work for them so that they can love their careers again.
And it's more than that too, because RPH Ally is bringing together people that are focused on pharmacogenomics, people that are focused on marketing your business, the legalities of starting an LLC, the financial side of running a business. So it's a really amazing collective that if you are entrepreneurial, even if you're not entrepreneurial, there's something for you at the if you're a pharmacist in general, there's something for you at RPH Ally. I want everyone to look that up. RPH Ally. Just Google that and it'll come right up. And we have them on our podcast shows. We have them involved in being sources of information for what is innovation in pharmacy care. Point of care testing in community pharmacy, number one, which I think is going to drive a lot of understanding, a lot of data collection, as well as using the trust factor between the community pharmacist and their patients in their community to say, hey, we have this available to you now so that you don't have to go to a health system or to a cold laboratory that you're not sure who they are. You trust your community pharmacist. That's layer one. That's kind of, I think, going to be some of our greatest successes. Layer number two is the consultant pharmacist. That's kind of where you started to becoming a consultant too, in building your own consultant practice within your community and assuring that it's not just about the prescription, it's not just about the medications, it's also about the conditions of what you're suffering and how you're managing a disease state or a condition, and the data that's coming back from that point of care test, and then following up with your primary care and physician. Can you, and your pharmacist, I mean, primary care and pharmacist, can you kind of paint us a picture of how you would work the triangle, the primary care, the patient, and the pharmacist with in regards to point of care testing data that comes back, and then kind of like the treatment that is then put into either place or changed or something, and what the pharmacist's role is?
Yes. So this is actually a great topic to talk about because a lot of times people feel like the water is very murky. And I feel like it's pretty clear that everyone says it, we're the most successful, most accessible healthcare professional. And so patients are coming to us for information and for questions and for answers, and we can help facilitate that. So, no, we're not diagnosing with these tests. What we're doing is helping facilitate care. And so, by coming and being in my presence, being able to do a physical test and deliver results in typically less than a half hour, sometimes it's much, much shorter than that. In 10 minutes, people can have their results delivered, supplement recommendation, or it's a consult, it's paired with a consultation. But how the physician gets looped into that is by you having a conversation with the patient in front of you while you're explaining their results, that they need to then go ahead and take this information to their primary care doctor and have a conversation with them about it as well. So if you want to work with me on this end and do some more customized consultation so that we can work through your needs on a more one-to-one basis, then that service is there, but it's in a partnership with your primary care doctor, not in replacement of your primary care doctor. And then two, we're sending those results right over from my facility directly to that doctor's office is something that we do as well.
All right, so let's talk about making money at it, and that we have to have that available to the community pharmacist, the consultant pharmacist, in order to build a career out of this. And I'm thinking of ICD-10 codes, classifying what we're doing as providers in order to follow up with something or executing a test. Can you kind of touch on the payment side of this, of how that would work in a consultant realm as well as a community pharmacy realm?
Yes. So the short answer is that we are pharmacists, so we can't do the full scope, obviously, that physicians are able to do, even outside of the diagnosing, but we're really limited when it comes to the laws and actually being able to bill insurance. And so, with that like barrier in place, I'm a huge advocate for doing this as a cash-based service that patients are paying you out of pocket for this service because you're providing them a truly customized approach to meet their needs and quick results that nobody else can really offer them. So I'm a huge fan for cash, but as a CLIA waived laboratory, which is what you typically are when you're offering point of care testing, you can then, as a pharmacy, register with Medicare Part B to go ahead and bill those tests as a clinical laboratory. So you are able to actually get reimbursed for those tests.
Excellent.
Mhm.
All right. So if we were to take the top 3 or top 5 point of care tests of how it ties back to a condition that seems most prevalent throughout the nation, what are those tests?
Yeah, so we have our acute conditions, which are obvious, COVID, flu, strep, RSV. Those are things we're seeing seasonally and kind of year round at this point. But the year round opportunities that I see hitting those big conditions like heart disease and diabetes and high cholesterol, A1Cs, lipid panels, and glucose are point of care tests that you can do with the person right in front of you with a simple finger prick instead of actually having to go to a lab and get your blood drawn. So it's much different. I mean, it's a lot easier. Like I would much rather have my finger pricked than go to a lab. What about you, Todd?
Absolutely. And I'd rather go to my community pharmacy to do that than go to a lab that, like a Quest Diagnostics or something big. And I see the shift taking place when people realize that testing is available in my independent community pharmacy. I want to help the community by going to a privately owned pharmacy, but then I know that individual. My pharmacy is right across the street from our studios. It's Brownsville Family Pharmacy. If I knew I could go there for my testing, I'd rather go there because I know them. Desiree, she's my pharmacist, and then understanding that I trust her so that when we do the follow up, it's with somebody that I already know.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you're already comfortable there. You're familiar. We like to go black. We're humans. We like to go back to places that we feel comfortable. We already know where I walk in and where the checkout is. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't really like new. We don't like having to navigate that. So if we can go to this really comfy place that we already go to for other services, it's not going to stop there. once you add another service, I'm going to be coming to you again for this other service that you've added. It's this really cool opportunity that point of care testing kind of opens up and is really simple to do in your workflow.
You know, we're talking about community, we're talking about the consultant pharmacist. We could also be talking about specialty pharmacy, and we could be talking about senior care pharmacy. And each of those sectors of pharmacy would deliver some new special tie-in to testing. So when I think of specialty, I think of rare diseases that impact a patient a very specific way, and ancillary to the treatment, to the core treatment. If it's a blood disorder, if it's HIV, there's other things that could be happening that a pharmacist could be offering to the patient to be able to do testing for additional data that goes in the holistic side of what it is to be a patient suffering with that condition. Can you give me some examples where we have a core disease state or core condition, but then ancillary tests that may surround that condition?
Yeah, so I was actually just talking about this with somebody else, but they were asking me about like a complete metabolic panel. Do we do things like can you do things like creatinine or BUN? Can you do other markers like white blood cell counts and different things like that? And the answer is really yes. Like the options are endless, truly. It's just navigating how to actually do it and what companies to do it through, because not everything is going to be a quote unquote point of care test where you're physically testing that person right in front of you. You might have to, maybe provide them with a kit that they can do at their house, and they get their results back within a day or a couple days or so from a lab that they've shipped out to. But still, you're still providing that access to care and the results and answers that they're looking for, because the reality is that our system's really bogged down right now, and I think pharmacists have the ability to kind of fill that void that patients are experiencing.
Kristen, I'm excited about our next guest, special guest, and being able to really extend what we've been talking about. I met a team of technologists at the HLTH conference for 2022 through a partner of ours called Fin Partners, and they introduced me to the ixlayer team. ixlayer is all about health testing and making it mobile, making it reachable, making it interconnected to communities and to people that want to know, can I get a test for some specific condition or disease state? And we have an opportunity to talk with and to really collaborate in the future with the ixlayer team. I'd like to welcome CEO of ixlayer, Pouria Sanae, to our discussion today.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Kristen. Great to meet both of you.
Hey.
Hello, good to meet you too.
Thank you for being here. I was so excited that you were able to do this, Pouria, and the reason is because Kristen and I want to empower pharmacists across the nation. We want to empower them in specialty rare diseases, community engagement, and senior care engagement, and also our consultants. And I believe that ixlayer, based on what I know about you, is a perfect fit for that. So share with our listeners, what is ixlayer, and how could you, in your interpretation, how could you work closely with pharmacists?
Yeah, first of all, Todd, thanks for inviting us. And Kristen, I was sitting on the background and listening to you, and the first thing I was thinking, I need to get a meeting with this individual. She is speaking everything that I'm speaking about. I agree 100% with everything that you said. We're a great fan of really decoupling diagnostic testing through a late stage clinical protocol, bringing it more into a earlier stage, bringing it more into a pharmacy. Our sort of perception is that exactly like you said, right? The pharmacist is the individual in the healthcare that you have more access to. The accessibility is huge, and as you also have a trust with them. So can we bring them more in the loop? Can we power them? And Todd, back to your question, ixlayer is actually in the name. The I and the X stand for infrastructure and patient experience layer. for diagnostic testing. We allow our customers, which are consumer retailers, CVS is one of them, which are payer providers, and pharma, to offer diagnostic testing under their own brand outside of cold lab sample collection in their home, in their facilities, and so on. What we've done is that we have integrated with over 42 different services to offer self-collect in-home lab testing within any disease category, whether it's diabetes, oncology, endocrinology, etc. And the ones that we're most famous of is the CVS test. If you go into CVS and you pick up a thyroid or STD test, we're behind those products, and it's all consumerized, so it's easy for an individual to collect their sample, whether it is, and Kristen, you mentioned finger prick or micro container. There is also these micro needle for your back of the arm, or whether it is fit or stool, and so on. And then the easiest way to think about this, and I think this sort of shapes the conversation as well, is in a patient journey, we believe that we divide it into three parts: preventive care, right? In clinic care, which is sick care, and then post care, chronic condition management. We offer great value in the preventive care and the post care, both for lab testing when you want to know upfront, is something going on? STD is a perfect example of. And post care is, I need to be tested ongoing. For me personally, thyroid is a huge problem. I have to be tested once a quarter. It's a big mess. So that would be a perfect example of that.
So I kind of want to set up a little volleyball game here. I love volleyball, and I'm short, so you wouldn't think I'd like it. I'm only 5'7", but you know what I'm good at? I'm good at setting up the Kristens, who are the rock star that can jam the ball down because I set it exactly in the right spot. And I think of the ball as the treatment plan and the treatment goals and the treatment overall. So what I want is I'm going to step away, and I want Kristen and Pouria to talk about how do we use the technology of ixlayer, infusing that technology with someone that Kristen trains, and then that person, that pharmacist, goes out to their community and literally executes any test under the banner of ixlayer's portfolio. And imagine the power of between ixlayer and that consultant pharmacist group. So I've set the ball. I'm going to set it for Kristen to kind of take over at that point and really discuss between each other. How do you expand and do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can take I can take it right from there. I knew you were going to say that, Todd, that you were a good setter. I knew that was coming. But I really see a huge need for this because, like I said, we're like the pharmacy profession is really shifting into this testing arena, and using a company like ixlayer to help facilitate that is huge. So, but we need the company, right, to help us facilitate that. So I would love to hear from you, Pouria, what you think would be like, what are one of the top tests that you feel like would be really impactful, and how would we kind of utilize that?
Yeah, so I mean, the absolute easiest one is A1C, right? It's a simple finger prick. It's by far one of the largest. I have some cheating notes and stats that I bring with me everywhere, actually. So if you think about A1C, you have 96 million, 38% of the population that are pre-diabetics. And what's really, really sad is that 23% of them don't know they are. So diabetes testing, definitely a great opportunity. The other one is STD testing is huge. This is one of the most sold tests that we have based on our customers. There are also different type of hormonal testing, thyroid, endocrinology. I give you an example, which I'm hoping that we're going to solve one day for myself, selfishly. If I need to go in and so every quarter I need to go and see my doctor, get a piece of paper, go to LabCorp, and then get a lab result, go back to my doctor just because I need my thyroid medication adjusted. This is a 48-hour process for me, a very busy individual. And in any other business, this would be called subscription, where I could potentially go directly to my pharmacies. They could potentially take my samples there and then I could get my medication adjusted on the fly. There is no need for 3 additional 2 doctor visits and 1 lab visit. Can we solve that? Yes, we have the technology, but can we put this technology in the hand of the right individuals to utilize it?
I mean, I believe the answer to that question is yes, and it's with pharmacists, because I also do functional medicine consultations, and the biggest thing I'm always talking about is thyroid, 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 and I keep hitting a wall with providers not wanting to order thyroid levels for their patients for one reason or another, and that's completely fine. That's like, as a practitioner, we have the freedom to say what we want, what we feel comfortable doing, and what we don't feel comfortable doing. But also too, as the patient, doesn't the patient have the right to get answers to questions that they have? And so this seems like it facilitates that. What do you think about that?
Definitely, I agree 100%. Especially in the cases where patient needs ongoing lab testing, right? That they're aware of their issue, especially where we're talking about, this also improves the adherence and compliance. If I have to spend 48 hours every quarter, there are a huge chance, and I'm a victim of it, that I miss it, I skip it, I can't be bothered, I stay on the same level. And that also affects, both adherence and compliance for that medication.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then also, to spin it the other way, that 23% of people who don't know they're pre-diabetic, that could be a huge avenue for us to help with actual prevention of disease. Diabetes is entirely preventable. Well, type 2 diabetes is entirely preventable. And so we could really hit those people and start not only giving them answers to maybe questions that their doctors might not be willing to order for them for one reason or another, but also start to have conversations about things that they actually can do to take control of their health and lead more down a path of prevention rather than disease, which is kind of where they're going already.
Exactly. And then if we're just continue down the prevention path, many of the other tests that we offer, and we do good volumes of it, is, for example, FIT is big, right? Colorectal cancer, liver, ALT, AST, heart diseases, kidney, EGFR, UACR, and so on. These are all preventive tests that we can do to reduce some of these numbers, these crazy stats out there.
That's incredible, like you just said about the colorectal screening, because a lot of patients don't do that. They don't want to go into the office, number one. Number two, there's a huge obstacle with health insurance at this point. You have to go to your primary to get the referral to see the specialist. You have to have an appointment. Like, you see where I'm going. There's step after step after step after step that you have to navigate, and that's really time consuming. It's heavy on the resource end, and you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a solution for that.
Correct. We have a solution for that. We do it under the brand of our customers, in this case, of the pharmacist. And our solution is, in the end of the day, a tool, which is only valuable if right people use it. And that is number one reason why we asked Todd, we need to be on your podcast, because people need to hear about this and they need to use it. Otherwise, it would be a tool in a toolbox.
Exactly. And also too, but using that tool that you guys have, isn't that like another game of volleyball? We're like getting the results for the patients and for the provider and setting it up, right? We're giving it back to the doctor like, hey, look, these are the results that we found. And we think you need to have a conversation with the patient, or to the patient, we think you need to go see your physician. So
I want to chime in and just talk about the physician. So physicians are the quarterbacks. They're the ones that are commanding the plays and really starting the play for treatment. And it's up to them to kind of start the play and start the treatment. So if the pitch is to the wide receiver or to the running back or to someone making an adjustment, all the barriers of running the treatment to goal, payment, prior authorizations, other conditions, comorbidity, all of this thing coming at the the pharmacist, and the providers working together. I want to give a shout out to physicians. Number one, you're amazing. What you do, how hard you work. Pharmacists don't want to be primary care. We want to stay in our lanes, okay? But the lanes of pharmacy are not utilized as they should be. From what you were schooled to go to, how you understand pharmacology, how you understand transitions of care, titrations of care, pharmacogenomics. There's so much happening that the primary care is so overwhelmed. Please pitch the ball, for goodness sakes, to a pharmacist and allow the pharmacist to run with it, and also allow the pharmacist to execute on testing in order to get data back to primary care, so that the primary care for the next play in getting that goal to that treatment to goal, the next play, now they can make the adjustments with all this data that they extracted from the pharmacist and the testing teams in order to make that next decision. And I'm not just making this up because I'm an economist. I'm a capitalist. I'm not an insane capitalist like some of our PBMs, which they're greedy driven. I'm a capitalist from the perspective of, if there's opportunity to empower a consultant, a community pharmacy, someone like Pouria and his ixlayer team, I want to see you be successful. And I'm not talking about anything data. 2 days ago, this report came out from Global Newswire that said point of care diagnostics market size is going to be 85.8 billion by 2032. That means that there is an opportunity right now to plant your seeds as a consultant pharmacist, as a pharmacist that wants to dig in to the clinical side of extending pharmacy care as soon as the treatment plan is given to you by the physician, and then getting that data back to the next decision maker, whether that's the patient pharmacist, the patient physician, the patient physician pharmacist, the specialist, the nurse practitioner, whatever it is. ixlayer is empowering all of those players with these test kits, and that gets me jazzed up, because I see in the hands, Kristen, of your pharmacist that you're training right now to implement point of care testing, either as a consultant, someone that is in community pharmacy, someone who is a specialty disease state pharmacist, or someone who might be in senior care. You are now empowering them to execute and to use the tools that the ixlayer team are giving to you.
Yeah, definitely. And it allows for a lot more flexibility too, because sometimes, depending on what state you're located in, you can't do physical point of care tests. So this really allows for expansion of services, really, so that you can offer testing in an easy way. You can put your logo goes right on it, right? I mean,
Correct. Yeah.
the branding piece is incredible, and it just really allows for that kind of that transition to getting paid for our knowledge that we're all kind of looking for as pharmacists. And I love what you said, Todd, about physicians and how we don't. I want to repeat what you said. Pharmacists do not want to replace
Right.
the physician at all. We want to take our training of managing disease states and hopefully reversing them to allow for the space that the physicians should have, and unfortunately don't right now, to actually do the things that they went to school to do, that they became a physician to do. And getting bogged down with the minutia of some of this basic triaging based on test results is something that pharmacists are fully capable of doing, like I said, to free up the space of the physician.
Yeah, and I think physician fatigue is a very well-known thing. Can we keep the healthy individual outside of the physician's office? And can we focus a little bit of the preventive care with them through the pharmacist? And then in case they have an abnormal result on the lab test, can we at that point of time send them for additional care? There is a one of the CVS boxes, the terminology that we use is called symptom to a treatment in a box, which I like a lot, where let's say you have an abnormal symptom, you feel like something is not right, especially with STD, or you have a risk, you can go now and pick up one of these kits. You can do an in-home lab collection, and then you can have a telehealth session through one of our telehealth doctor, and then there is an RX prescription to the pharmacist. So that telehealth session that's happening with the physician today could live with the pharmacist, and does actually do that in some of the states.
We have a comment from one of our viewers right now that says team-based care is the goal. And that's what Pharmacy Podcast Network has stood for from the very beginning. That's why we're invested in partnerships like with ConveyMed, which teaches pharmacists and physicians to work together, and the education provided for continuing education through podcasting. And it's always collaborative because we know what pharmacists' strengths are and we know what pharmacists don't want to do. And to echo it again for a third time on the show, Kristen, it's not to be physicians, it's to be pharmacists, because they're incredible and they're underutilized, and there could be so much more that could come from them. And point of care testing, Pouria, is really, as Kristen said at the beginning of her opening, it's the future of what pharmacists are going to do. Automation, artificial intelligence, technology, digital therapeutics. That's going to be one of our episodes. I can't wait to talk with Pear Therapeutics and other providers and developers of prescriptions that are technology-based apps, which is so exciting. But this is not just about the prescription anymore. It's not the prescription. There's going to be so much automation to take over some of that the pharmacist is now going to have the opportunity to truly dig into what data came from the point of care test. And now, based on that data, what changes in care, adjustments in care, ancillary additives to care. When we talk about HIV, Kristen, we're also talking about Hep C. And if you have HIV and you don't have Hep C, that's a different environment than if you do. Then all of a sudden we add on hypertension, or we add on cold sores, or we add on something else. And certainly that enters in the element of customized precision care for our patients. Point of care testing has to be there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It really provides a space for patients to get what they need in the fastest possible way. And then the ability to have that conversation, like I said earlier, for triage. And pharmacists know exactly where to send people and how to direct. We do it all day, every day, without even thinking about it. It's like second nature. So I'm really excited about the testing. I'm sure you're surprised.
Pouria, share with us kind of the process. How does a pharmacist get in kind of plugged in and understand the specific test they want, and then what happens? They get the patient to take the test, or the patient takes the test themselves, and then tell us a little bit about what happens within that process starting.
Yeah, so we have different programs supporting different needs. As I say, we do pharmacy retailer, we do payer providers, and we do pharma, which a lot of it is decentralized clinical trials. When we set up a program, we loop in CLIA CAPA certified lab based on the geolocation of that pharmacist. We provide them with sample collection devices and kits. These could be in the office collection, it could be in the home collection, in the home self-collection. There is a really nice patient experience. There are videos that shows them how to do a finger prick, how to collect a stool or saliva, etc. If you ever done a COVID test, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. And we've been doing it far before COVID started, actually, within genomics and carrier screening and pharmacogenomics. And then the result comes back to the ordering provider. In some of the states, that is the pharmacist. And with that, depending on the results, it could be a consultation session. It could be that you send them to their physician, to their own provider. It should also be that, hey, no, there's nothing, everything is great, and you can continue with that. We power that solution exactly based on the clinical protocol that the pharmacist needs. We check all of the boxes, and we utilize a network of 42 different services to be able to do that. It takes us 8 weeks to get our organization up and running. And after that, they have a long list of tests to their access, and they can do it in the pharmacy or self-collect in the home as well.
Let's talk about integrations and APIs. In the world of, that's where I came from. It came from the pharmacy management software side of our industry. And when I entered, there was no such thing as APIs between pharmacy management systems and EHR systems, big ones like even like Epic or something. Today, that's different with the protocols changing, with NCPDP really writing protocols for information exchange. And then the advent of FHIR, which is the entrance into accelerating data from one system to the next. How is ixlayer integrated either into the pharmacy systems or the EHR systems so that data is put into the patient's record?
Yeah, so this has been like an important aspect for us. We support APIs, REST API. We support HL7. We support FHIR to be able to check the boxes for all the different protocols. We also provide or what's called a single sign-on, so that if you do not have the tech capabilities of integrating and setting that up, if that takes time, you can easily utilize our admin portal without needing to create another account, another experience. On the other end, we provide patient experience portal under your own brand. So ixlayer is never visible anywhere. We're truly a SaaS technology platform where the patients can get their results. The patient gets educational content for each panel and biomarker. And we also show the history of result in charts so that I can see how my values be moving into the right direction or wrong direction to trigger additional care if it is moving to the right direction. Maybe I should just change lifestyle, and that's a good start. It's very easy to set up. It's ready to go for you. And again, it takes us 8 weeks to launch a new customer.
Kristen, when you're listening to this and the opportunities at hand, if you were the one, the orchestra, the maestro per se, to kind of put this together for a pharmacist that really wanted to move forward with full portfolio point of care testing, what would you advise of how it would work? Because is it the patient that is going out there and ordering the test themselves because they're curious? Is it the physician that's executing the test? Or is it the pharmacist who's moving along with the patient in their treatment and they say, hey, wait a second, we don't have enough data around your XYZ condition. So I want to get more data based on an additional test. Kind of use your imagination to, and it doesn't have to be exact. It's just trying to like fold this in of how does this from an ecosystem fold into a consultant pharmacist and their patient engagement?
I think it could be all of those, but I know from working with enough people that that's not realistic. So where I would start is asking questions about the dynamic of the business that they're working in already, whether they're a consultant or do they have an independent pharmacy? What's that dynamic look like? What's the support staff situation look like? We would do a market analysis. What's the surrounding competition doing? Is there any competition? And then also, too, what are you interested in providing to your community? Because we can't just say, oh, okay, we have 50 tests. Please buy one. Like that message gets lost. So then it's I like to bring people back to a core set of things, maybe even just one. I think with something like this, we probably could pick a handful, but let's pick one test and let's just start talking to your community about it. Especially if you're not doing any testing at all, we need to start getting the message out there that you're offering these additional services. And the clearest way to get a message out there is to talk about one product. And then it just starts to slowly evolve from there. So it could be a grassroots thing where you're in a physical brick and mortar location and just having conversations with the patients that are walking in. But what I like to do is I like to do that because that's easy and quick, right? You can start that right now. But then build up your e-commerce platform so that people can just purchase whatever they want to, whenever they want to. I think the options are truly endless, but that's just a real quick dump of kind of what my approach would be. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you actually nailed it. I agree 100%. And if you look at it from the patient's angle, I think it has to do where patient is in its patient journey, right? If you are within the preventive care what internally we call pre-patient. This could be an STD, this could be women's health, women's fertility. Then maybe going and buying a test yourself is a good way. If you are battling a chronic condition when you need ongoing testing, this is initially physician ordered, but I don't want to go back to my physician every quarter just because I want to adjust my medication. Then it lives on us. So I think all of the above, I want to echo what Kristen said. And again, depending on where the patient is, so a pharmacist could start focusing on specific path of or specific category of the patient journey, if that makes sense.
It does. And I also want to make reference, Pouria, we'll be following up with your business development and marketing teams to get you introduced to pharmacy buying groups that have the audience of 1,000 to 5,000 members that really take their buying group as a source of education, as well as Kristen's profession of this new faith in pharmacists and what pharmacists are doing in their communities as consultants, as community pharmacists. And that's why I want to bring up this next thing. COVID-19 and antibody testing, employee health screening. This is an opportunity for community pharmacies to engage and partner with Kristen and ixlayer to deliver an entire system to go into small employers within your community, or even large employers, God bless you, large employers, to actually set up consultation that goes far beyond just testing. You come in and you say, hey, we're going to help drive down the cost of your employee benefits, healthcare benefits, because we're going to really pay attention to diabetes. We're going to pay attention to hypertension. We're going to pay attention to the stresses in the psychotropic world, mental health and behavioral health. And pharmacists are going to get their arms around it and then plug in the ixlayer solutions to saying, we have entire systems ready to do employee health screening. So it becomes part of an employer's offering to their employees to say, hey, we can execute this on a large scale based on that consultant pharmacist that shows up. Whether you're a community pharmacy or you're a consultant pharmacist within a community, you have an opportunity to take this not on the one-to-one. The one-to-one is important. Obviously, you have to give the attention to the individual patient, but this might be the 1 to 200. If there's 200 employees at a small business within your community, the average employee is 2.33. So if I say 200 employees, that's actually over 700 lives that you could impact on average. And if you're starting with 50, just do the math. 50 times 2.33 would tell you how many lives you probably have interconnected to that one individual. So start thinking that way. And Kristen, are you doing anything to coach pharmacists to engage employers within their community around point of care testing?
Yeah, so we're getting into that. Absolutely. I will tell you that it's newer. It's a newer space that I'm getting involved in. I like to be fully transparent, but I couldn't agree with you more. It's an enormous opportunity for impacting a much larger population, and also too these smaller business, I say small businesses, but these are typically businesses that have 50, 100, 500 plus employees. This is extremely financially beneficial for them to do for a multitude of different reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But yes, to answer your question, it's something that we're really starting to get into because we're seeing that this is where consumer healthcare is kind of going.
Pouria, can you speak to the programs that you're putting in place to empower providers to execute testing for small employers and communities?
Yeah, so we have had over 1,100 programs supporting employers for employee testing, employee well-being, and it's easy to set it up regardless of the size of that. We have out-of-the-box solutions, so it's very easy and very fast to set it up. And in some of those cases, it combines with add-on testing. So you start with one and you can do multiple testing. But it is a segment of the market that we have a big focus on. And I think it is an important one. It's a really important one. There is not many organization that focuses on the preventive care. I'm going to use another word again, what we internally call pre-patient. We have a goal and a vision internally, and we came up with this terminology. If you're an individual and you're not sick, you're an employer in this case, and you are a pre-patient. If you are a pre-patient, you will get sick at some point.
Yep.
Our goal, and I think employers' goal, is that to keep you as pre-patient as long as possible. How can you do that? Screening and testing is a huge part of that.
Yep. Listen, we're out of time. I'm actually over time, but I don't care because this was important enough to talk with both of you about. I want this to become a solid golden bridge between Kristen and ixlayer and Pharmacy Podcast Network. We have so much we could be doing. I'd like to interject you into conversations that are going to be happening at the APHA, the American Pharmacists Association. That's a live event that's going to be happening on the 24th of March, and we're going to be there as a media partner. Kristen is already part of the inner circle, Pouria, so she should really become a conduit to all things pharmacy for you and your team. We love you and believe in you because Finn Partners, my sister organization and big brother organization who loves me and took me under their wing, introduced us. So shout out to Finn Partners. Thank you so much for the introduction to Pouria and your amazing team. But this is just the start for our organizations to be working together. I like to say together RX.
That sounds great.
It does. It sounds wonderful.
All right. Well, we'll see both of you soon. I have some notes to give up and moving forward, but thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, it was great meeting you.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about next week's This Week in Pharmacy. I'm really excited about this. We have one of the 50 most influential people in pharmacy joining us, Dr. Chris Antipas, PharmD pharmacist, founder of Paragon 360. That's a revolutionary pharmacy care team focused on specific, very serious disease states fused with technology. One of those technologies is Spencer Health. I can't wait to talk to you about this. They actually made the news and their partnership between Paragon Health and Spencer Health. And also a pharmacy owner and one of Pittsburgh's fastest growing companies is AcoreRx CEO and founder, Dr. Sean Naran. He reminds me of Joe Rogan in some ways. He reminds me of a MMA fighter, but if he's not going to fight me, because that wouldn't even be a fight. He'd probably just like flinch and I'd fall down. But I want to say a shout out to pharmacists, pharmacy technicians. You got to be part of this pharmacy podcast if you're not already subscribed. If you don't, if you can't return, obviously we're streaming after this is recorded on YouTube, as well as any of your podcast players. We're powered by Podbean. A shout out to Podbean. You guys are awesome and how you support us and growth with us. We're going to be doing a lot more with you in 2023. A shout out to my favorite providers, pharmacists and our pharmacy technicians, the right hand of pharmacists. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. And that's it for This Week in Pharmacy.